What's up, cool kids, and welcome back. Another week, another episode, a brand new season. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're doing well, and welcome to the season 2 premiere of the Langston Frazier Show podcast. I'm your host, Langston Frazier. This is a golf-related podcast where we get to hear some of the most interesting stories affecting the game of golf from both inside and outside the industry, featuring some of golf's up-and-coming names. Man, what a crazy few months it's been. We've been off for 3 months, folks, but we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. In the midst of all that, we elected a new U.S. president. Sports seasons have been drastically changed. College seasons has been postponed or canceled. Schools have been put online and made virtual across the country. And we do have some good news. We did have some champions crowned within the last couple of months, but we'll get to that in the sports update. Now, if you haven't checked out season 1, if you're new to the podcast, I highly suggest that you do. We have some amazing guests stop by, and we're really building the foundation of this podcast in season 1. So that season was super special to me, but this season is gonna be even better. We have some really great guests lined up this season, including Maurice Allen, Avery Dossack, Abby Parsons, Micah Thomas, Jay DeLuca from the PGA Show, and DeAndre Diggs, including so many others, including this week's guest, award-winning college broadcaster, Will D. Scott. Sports brings us together. So let's see what's been going on in the world of sports over the last few months with the TLFS Pod Sports Update. In college news, the Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks have announced on November 12th that it will be bringing its 15th sport to the university. Beach volleyball will be coming to the shore beginning in the spring of 2022. The Hawks will be the first Division I NCAA HBCU institution to bring the sports to its roster. I really think this is a great idea. It's been in the works for a couple years now, especially because we're 45 minutes away from Ocean City. It's a beach sport, obviously, and it's, you think of the shore, you think of, relaxation, summer, sand. I think it's a great fit. The head coach of the women's volleyball team, Trevor Kalaman, and the assistant coach, Heather Fieldman, will most likely be in similar roles to what they are now with the beach volleyball team when that comes up. So I'm looking forward to it. I've heard some great feedback, and I'm excited to see what the team is gonna do. Continuing in news for the Hawks, the department announced that it will not be competing in any spring sports for the spring 2021 semester. Previously, the Shore announced that the basketball teams were slated to begin their 2020-2021 limited schedule on January 2nd, but that decision has been reversed due to the ongoing pandemic and the safety of their student athletes, their staff, and other constituents. But the school is planning to start their spring semester on January 25th. For the first time since 2001, the MSU Spartans picked up 3 wins on the same day. Yes, 3 wins in football, basketball, and hockey. The Michigan State football team upset number 8th ranked Northwestern 29-20. That was a really exciting game to watch, especially at the very end. Really solid play by the Michigan State Spartans. Kind of fell off, but came back on toward the end of the game, and that was exciting to see. Michigan State hockey upset number 10 Ohio State in 3-2 in overtime, and Michigan State basketball beat Notre Dame 80-70 just a few nights ago. Now, making history, I think this is super important. Sarah Fuller of the Vanderbilt football team. Yes, Sarah Fuller of the Vanderbilt football team won just yesterday the SEC Player of the Week after having a historic week, becoming the first female student athlete to play in a Power 5 football game. So congratulations to her. She was the kicker for the game. Unfortunately, they lost that game, but that still doesn't take away from what she accomplished just in the span of about 2 weeks. Her team, she obviously plays on the soccer team as well. If you did not know, she won that championship, and then obviously certain kind of situations came into play that she was able to play in the football game and made history, becoming the first female to kick in a Power 5 football game. So congrats to her. In Maryland basketball news, Maryland is 3-0 in conference play in Big Ten after defeating Mount St. Mary's this past weekend 79-61. The Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers game has been pushed back for a third time due to a COVID-19 outbreak and higher risk exposure to some players. So that game has been pushed back for a third time. The game is now going to be played Wednesday afternoon on December the 2nd. Now, something that I think is super, super cool that happened this weekend, the way social media kind of evolves and kind of tells the story of sports. In golf news, pro golfer Jon Rahm announced this past weekend that him and his wife Kelly are expecting their first child. So congratulations to them. And something that's kind of been new to the golf world, but people have been more kind of getting onto and really enjoying the match with the celebrity golfers and pro golfers. This version was the third iteration of this match called The Match. And it was Phil Mickelson and Charles Barkley versus Stephen Curry and Peyton Manning. And people were calling them the underdogs. Charles Barkley and Phil the Thrill beat Steph Curry and Peyton Manning to raise money for HBCUs across the country this past Friday, this Thanksgiving weekend. So that was super exciting to watch. And if you haven't seen the clips, make sure you go see it because Barkley's golf swing looks a lot better. And in tour news, the PGA Tour has acquired a minority stake in the European Tours media production company as part of an alliance to kind of boost and start a global golf schedule. This is super, super cool. This could allow to more players kind of having the leeway to play on different tours between the PGA Tour in the United States and the European Tour. And the alliance also announced on Friday that it's going to collaborate on commercial opportunities and global media rights in certain territories, as well as scheduling events. And in major championship news, the Fall Masters. It's super highly contested. It got pushed back to COVID-19. They are going to play another iteration this spring in April, but Dustin Johnson, who was the headliner to win just a few years ago, had to back out of the Masters, slipping on the stairs just before the night before the Masters were to get underway. Wins the green jacket at 20 under par. So congrats to him. And for all your latest news in golf in the world of sports, visit golfchannel.com and NBC Sports. Now it's time for the moment we have all been waiting for. I sit down with today's guest. In my opinion, I think he's one of the most electric men to grace the mic of college sports. Even though he's still in college, I think he is definitely on the rise. It's Will D. Scott of the Orange from Syracuse University. We're going to hear that and so much more after we hear a quick break from a word from our sponsors at Anchor. And with that, let's dive into the Season 2 premiere episode of The Langston Fraser Show. All right, so guys, this is one of the coolest guys that I know, and I really just can't wait for his career to take off. He's a sports reporter and a sports betting analyst on Citrus TV at Syracuse University. Will Scott, welcome to the Langston Frater Show podcast.
Langston, it's been a long time coming, my friend. Great to see you. Great to talk to you. It should be a good show. Thanks for having me
Well,
on.
let's just dive in. So I know this episode has been kind of scheduled for, let's say, well over 6, 7 months. Then this thing called coronavirus happened. We were talking before we started recording. Didn't really feel comfortable recording new content, especially that was going to be lighthearted, kind of the way we talk on a general basis. So we kind of
Mm-hmm.
to hold off, and then kind of got done with school a couple of weeks ago. So I was like, I need something to do. I can start my podcast back up. So we're back with a new episode. But how's the family going? How you doing?
Fan is good, man. I'm good. Back home in the great state of Texas for the next 6 or so weeks while I finish out this fall semester and start Winterlude. And then after that, head back to Syracuse for my final semester as a college student. Pretty surreal to think about that. But all is well, my friend. And I know you're grinding with your radio stuff and your podcast stuff. I hope all is well on your end.
I'm doing well. Things have been going good. We started a school year 3 weeks early, which is completely weird. So we got out last um, Thursday. It's now Tuesday. So it's weird. We started 3 weeks early. We're done 3 weeks early. So now I just got endless time to just sit around and like chill. So kind of be productive and get some projects done that I've been working on. And some upcoming things that are going to be further down the road and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. But I really like to start the interview or kind of the conversation, like I do with my other podcasts, is where are you originally from, and describe yourself or describe that location in 3 words and why.
So I'm originally from Sugar Land, Texas, which is a suburb about 25 minutes southwest of Houston. Um, Man, how would I describe Sugar Land? It is a small town, or well, I should say a growing town outside of a big city. When I was born, I think Sugar Land's population was, shoot, probably around 30,000. Now it's over 100,000. So in those 20 years, it has grown significantly, much like the city of Houston, much like the state of Texas. But even though it's only, 20, 25 minutes from Houston, and the city of Sugar Land continues to grow, there's still that small town feel, that small town community to it, which I really enjoy.
Right. So, is there a favorite experience you had growing up there or kind of living in Texas? Because I think everybody who's not from Texas, they all get the rumor. One thing, the barbecue is really good. George Bush and the Bush family are from Texas, and everything is bigger in Texas.
You got that right, Langston. The funny thing is, I didn't realize how much I loved Texas and Houston until I left. And I very much enjoy Syracuse. I was very fortunate to get into the Newhouse School and to be a part of the Syracuse community these past 4 years. But it's definitely a lot different up there in terms of many things. So I love Texas, man. It's always going to be home for me. And the second I get a chance to hopefully move back to Texas, whether it's a job, whether it's to start a family, I want to do that as soon as I can.
So, you kind of you lead into the next point. You head off to this kind of incredible kind of world renowned journalism school,
Hmm.
Newhouse up at Syracuse University. What kind of led you on that journey to get to Newhouse in Syracuse?
I wanted to go to LSU my whole life, Louisiana State University. I grew up a big LSU fan. That's where my dad went. Whole dad's side of the family went to LSU, and it also was a lifelong dream of mine to be a sports broadcaster. And when I got into high school and started, considering colleges, I kind of realized I probably have to look elsewhere besides LSU. LSU is a great school, but in terms of broadcasting opportunities, I was not going to get what I was looking for at LSU. And so I did what what anyone would do. I Googled top broadcasting programs or top broadcasting colleges in America. And number one on pretty much every list I looked at was Syracuse University. And I was kind of telling myself, I'm not going to get into Syracuse. I'm not going to get into Newhouse. I was a good high school student. I wasn't a great high school student. I never made all A's in high school. I had to work for B's. I made a lot of 81s, a lot of 82s, made a 27 on the ACT, so nothing too crazy. But got into Syracuse, and when I got in, it was a no-brainer to accept that offer and to go to Syracuse. And I never visited campus during the winter. If I did, that might have changed my opinion. But it's a great place. I'm very, like I said, very, very fortunate to be at Syracuse, to have the opportunities that I do there. There's so many big names that have come out of Newhouse. So to be a member of that community, to kind of be in that Newhouse family now is really, really special. And there's no doubt that I think it's going to help me in my career to be a Syracuse graduate.
And like you said, time does fly. It seems like we were just
Mm.
meeting each other just over 2 years ago, and now here you come talking about graduation coming up in May. What's kind of been your coolest experience so far at SU?
Man, so many great memories, Langston. In terms of outside of broadcasting, my favorite memory would have to be when Syracuse beat Clemson in 2017. That was one of the biggest wins in Syracuse football history. And I was front row in the student section, and I ended up rushing the field with everybody after the game. And there's this great picture I have hung up in my apartment at school. That was really, really special. The highlight of my freshman year for sure. In terms of broadcasting, there's a lot of great memories there as well. But my first time calling a Syracuse football game on the radio was incredibly special, because I got that opportunity as a senior, and that is something that I'd worked for since the second I walked in as a freshman. And so to call that Syracuse Duke game back on October 10th was very, very special. And then going to Louisville, like you said, when we were talking off air a couple of weeks back, that was awesome, an awesome experience as well.
Nice, nice. So, you get to travel around the country and kind of call some of these big college games. Didn't you kind of venture into kind of an activity that I wouldn't say you're the best at, you're not the worst at, you're kind of just in the middle. You kind of say, let me do a crazy internship at this place called the Golf Channel in the middle of Orlando, Florida. Kind of what led you to getting that internship? How was that experience for you?
So Billy Ray Brown, a Golf Channel reporter, pretty cool story. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this, Langston, but maybe not. So Billy Ray Brown has a daughter. Her name is Katie Ray, who is a crazy good softball player. She's actually, I think she starts for the U of H, University of Houston softball team now. And I went to a senior grad party my senior year, and Billy Ray Brown walks in, and he comes up, and I'm like starstruck, right? Like, here's this guy that I've seen on TV pretty much my whole life, and he walks into the same room I'm in, and he said, "Will, I'm a big fan." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I almost passed out. And what he was referring to was I was the announcer for my high school, and so I'd go and commentate a lot of the softball games, and he would listen to them. So we talked for a while, and before the conversation was over, he said, "Will, I want you to come shadow me at the Insperity Invitational in a few months." So I did that. I think it was maybe a week before I graduated high school. I went and shadowed him at this tournament. I met a lot of Golf Channel producers, a lot of Golf Channel on air talent. Try to stay in touch with them. And Billy Ray was kind of floating the idea of me interning for Golf Channel. And I was eyeing that after my freshman year, and because of some courses I had to take over the summer, that wasn't possible for me to intern in Orlando. But then I looked at it again the next year, reached out to some of the producers I met that weekend at the Insperity Invitational, and they got me in touch with the hiring manager of Golf Channel, who sent me the application. And so that's how it happened, man. And what an adventure that was for us last summer.
Yeah,
I think about the intern group that we had at Golf Channel all the time, and we've done such a good job keeping up with each other, staying in touch.
right. It's
And
crazy.
it's just such a special group.
Some of those, I guess, interns, if you want to call them, some of them has graduated college, or some of them are just about to graduate college. We all stay in contact. It's like we have a big group chat that's on GroupMe. If you've done internships or wherever you've done in the country, I'm sure you've used it before. We have one. We rarely use it at this point, but we're all like on TikTok and Snapchats and Facebook and Twitter and wherever we're doing, keeping up with each other. So that's really, really cool. But what's kind of your favorite experience at Golf Channel, kind of getting to see the behind the scenes picture of what you see on there?
I mean, in terms of what day, I mean, it probably had to be day one when we walked in. I mean, I've been a golf fan longer than I've been a golfer. I was watching Golf on Kid with my grandpa, or Golf on TV as a kid with my grandpa, even before I started, golfing. And to be in the station, to be in the Golf Channel headquarters where it all happens was unbelievable. To walk in that first day, to get the tour of the studios, and I mean, it was just unreal. And then, every day walking past, people like Damon Hack and, it's crazy when you have Golf Channel talent calling you by your first name.
Right. It's
So
very
yeah.
strange. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I remember in the first season, we talked about it, kind of my experience about getting to Golf Channel, and it's very strange. Like you said, watching this network kind of grow and develop since we kind of, came into the golf scene, just grow. And we're seeing these common people that less than a week ago at the time, we just watched, on television in our
Mm-hmm.
apartments or on our phones or social media, whatever case it be. And then come that Monday, we're walking down the hall and we're like, who was that? Who is that? Who is that? And then we're sitting in town halls and going to trips to, Universal and doing scavenger hunts. It's just like, geez, man. And it's like, you don't really think anything of it. And I think that's something, as coming into this profession, that
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize. The people that you see on TV are normal people outside of that, shell of, production and TV, whatever case they are. They're normal people that have normal lives. And I think that kind of internship really taught us to kind of unshell that and just treat them as normal people, because they want to know, like, how's our family doing? How's school doing? I still talk to people that work at Golf Channel now, people that have
Mm-hmm.
left and people that are still there, and moved up to Connecticut, with NBC Sports. If anybody hasn't heard, they're moving up to Connecticut, with their parent company, NBC Sports. Little a downside that they're moving out of, the Orlando area where they've been for, almost 25 years, 26 years at this point, but moving up, kind of consolidating their business to kind of make some changes, to the infrastructure, which I think is really positive and really cool. But yeah, incredible experience that we both had, and it really shows the growth of, that network in itself. But you talked about playing golf. We played quite a few times in Orlando. One of the things
Winter
that
Park 9. I miss Winter Park
Winter
9,
Park
man.
Nine.
Shout
Well,
out Winter Park 9.
let me tell you, that's one of the best 9-hole courses I've ever played.
The
And
best. The best.
somebody
Yep.
who I'm still in contact with, Matty G, Matt Janella, who just moved actually on the other side of the country to California, back to where he's originally from, kind of put us on, Winter Park 9, and a whole bunch of that was, like, Golf Channel people like to call it like the official, unofficial golf course of Golf Channel, because that's where everybody goes and plays golf. It's super short, super
Mm-hmm.
fun. Have Friday night skins with a whole bunch of money and just good times and whatnot. I know I played in a couple of events out there. And it's just an incredible golf course, and for being a 9-hole course, definitely a gem.
And Langston, you know me, like I'm not a professional golfer by any stretch of the imagination, but for some reason I got on Winter Park 9. I felt like Tiger Woods, man. Like it was just something about that course that clicked for me. It fit my game really well. It was a majestic, beautiful course with a railroad track right in the middle of it. No carts on the course.
Yep.
Everyone was walking it. Gosh, man, it was just special. It's
And
special.
it's
Special
a
golf
good
course.
course, and it's really small. I guess one of my all time favorite memories of that internship actually took place on that golf course. So we were playing with these two other guys, and I know you know where I'm going with this. We were playing on the golf course with these two other guys, and so we have a cemetery on our left side, a road behind us, and I'm like, "Hey, Will, film my swing." He's like, "Yeah, okay." And meanwhile, when you hand your phone to friends that aren't in the media space, they don't know how to compose shots and make it look good. But I was like, "Will, take my phone, just get a good swing." And I was like, the guy I guess behind me was like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going straight down the middle of the fairway." I'm like, "Okay, yeah," because you can't go right and you definitely can't go left.
Uh-huh.
Because you go left, you're in the cemetery. Technically, you're not supposed to go in and get your ball. So I striped this golf ball down the middle of the fairway. It was loud as hell. Probably one of the best shots I've ever hit with that driver. I've since got a new one, but one of the best ones I've had. And you said this simple quote that people want to know what you said.
All right. Well, if the exact words, speak it into existence. Speak it
That's
into existence. And actually, you know where that quote is originally from?
where.
I don't even think you know this. LeVar Ball. Shout out to
Huh.
LeVar Ball. I didn't think he was going to get brought up on this, but when he was going through the whole process with Lonzo, he's like, I'm going to speak it into existence. Lonzo's getting drafted by the Lakers. He was saying that when Lonzo was in high school. He was saying that. And like, say what you want about LeVar Ball. I like the guy, but some people don't like him. The guy exudes confidence, and I
Yeah.
think that's what people need is confidence in themselves, right? Like, if you have a dream, go for it,
Yeah.
speak it into existence,
And
talk
and
about it every day, what you're going to do to get there. Talk about that every day.
and I think that's really important for any intern, any college student. Obviously, this is a podcast where we kind of get to hear the stories behind the people in the industry, and really kind of coming together and kind of building upon kind of uh, ways to be better. I think is super important. Now, one of the things that I'm really curious to find out, you talk about speaking things into existence.
Mm-hmm.
This past summer, you had a really great opportunity to be the lead broadcaster of the Bombers in Texas. How was that experience? Kind of that summer, especially with everything going on and the safety precautions going on. Got the call, a really special game.
Man, Langston, I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate because I know a lot of us lost internships over the summer. I was actually one of those people that lost an internship. I was going to be on the Cape Cod doing play-by-play for the Brewster Whitecaps, and the Cape Cod is widely considered to be the top collegiate summer league in the country. Pretty much every student broadcaster wants to be on the Cape Cod. And so I got that opportunity, and then that season gets canceled in April. So I'm thinking, look, I'm not going to do anything in summer. I was okay with that. I was disappointed, but I was like, all right, I'm going to drive for Uber Eats the entire summer. Like, it is what it is. And then I saw something on my Twitter feed that said there's going to be a quarantined baseball tournament in College Station. It's going to be the first baseball event since the COVID pandemic began. I'm
Yep.
like, this is great. Like, I wonder if they need broadcasters for this. So I reached out to the tournament director. About a week goes by, I hear back, and she says, "Will, thanks for reaching out. We've already hired professional broadcasters for this. But I'm also the general manager for the Brazos Valley Bombers baseball team. Our season is still a go as of now. We need a broadcaster. Do you want the job?" And I got offered the job right then and there. And number one, I just figured the Bomber season was canceled. Number two, I thought they would have hired a broadcaster. We're a couple weeks from the season. So I was extremely fortunate to have that opportunity. And not only did they not cancel the season, they added teams to the league because the minor league baseball season got canceled.
Yeah.
And so the minor league organizations like the Round Rock Express, the San Antonio Missions, the Tulsa Drillers, the Amarillo Sod Poodles, all got added to the league and fielded a college team. that they didn't have to pay the players. They could sell tickets. It was they could make some money off of off of this league. And so I got to go to all these amazing stadiums, like you saw on my Instagram link,
Yeah.
and call these games. It was just unbelievable. I was very, very fortunate, an amazing opportunity. And what I realized over the summer is, if I'm going to be a play-by-play broadcaster, I'm probably going to do baseball. I have a
Yeah.
love in my heart for baseball. It's a good fit for me. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if there's going to be a minor league season this summer. But if there is, I'll be interested in any potential opportunities to come up there, because I had a blast doing baseball this past summer.
Well, it had probably it was super cool. You put it. I think you put it on your your LinkedIn, and you put it on your Instagram. You made the game-winning call for the championship season, and I don't think people have heard it. So let's let them hear it.
Oh,
Cheatwood deals. Got him looking, strike three called, and the Bombers have won their 7th TCL title. In a wild and unpredictable year, one constant remains: the Bombers are champions.
So how was that call for you?
man, I've talked to a lot of broadcasters that have, or at least some broadcasters that have had a championship call, and including Rob Ford, the voice of the Houston Astros. I'm like, did you know going in what your championship call was going to be? And some of them have said yes, I had it scripted, and some of them have said no, I just did it off the cuff. And going in, I knew I needed to think of something because of the absolute, what's the word here? Going in, I knew I needed to think of a call, because it was a miracle that we finished the season.
Right.
It's amazing that we started the season. It's a miracle that we finished. And so the call, like the listeners just heard, in a wild and unpredictable year, one constant remains: the Bombers are champions. So wild and unpredictable year of 2020, the concept the Bombers are still champions. That was their 7th title since they started in 2007. So I was very happy with the call. I put some emotion into it, and
Yeah, and
gosh,
you
it
can
was
feel. And
crazy.
I feel bad for
Yeah.
your eardrums. I should have warned you guys before we played the clip. But to me, it kind of sounds like almost kind of like a Masters feel, like a Jim Nantz. When Dustin won, or when Tiger won,
Right.
the return to glory call. That he made.
Mhm.
It kind of felt like that to me. I was like, that was like, okay, that's not the last time that's going to happen for you.
I appreciate that, Langston. And I got a little emotional in the 4th inning. We got up like 10-1. The game was over by the 4th or 5th inning, and I got a little bit emotional, thinking, "Holy smokes, I'm going to be the voice of a championship team." And a lot of broadcasters in their career have not had that opportunity. I mean, you think about a lot of Major League Baseball teams that have never won a championship ever, like the Seattle Mariners still haven't won one championship in their franchise's history. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be the voice of a championship team again. So that was really, really special to be a part of that.
So let's switch gears here. Obviously we should have touched on it a little earlier when you played golf. When you were talking about kind of your golf career and kind of your evolution into getting into the game. One of the things that I can't hold you against, but I absolutely I absolutely love it. Your favorite golfer
Yes.
of all
Yes.
time, and tell him who it is.
My boy Keegan Bradley. That's my guy.
Now, would anybody expect that from him? I'm sitting here laughing at him, but it's really, really funny, and he's really consistent. Especially the last few weeks, he's been playing a lot better, and kind of getting that kind of motion back. And the thing that people don't really think about him, it's like Matthew Wolff. Matthew Wolff has a weird swing, but his thing is not even his golf swing. It's just his setup and how he approaches the ball. It kind of like, does he have nervous ticks or whatever? And you emulate your game a lot from him. And how's that been going as far as like your recent rounds of golf and just being out on the driving range?
I started playing golf the year that Keegan won the PGA, and I became a fan of him earlier that year when he won the Byron Nelson. And I was like, wow, here's this rookie that's just tearing it up on tour. And I became a huge fan of his even before he won the PGA. And then that PGA win was one of the best majors of this decade. I don't think it gets talked about enough. I mean, the playoff with Duffner and everything that Keegan did in that final round, he just gets the playoff. So I became a huge Keegan fan, and as you've seen, my approach is very similar to Keegan's, and people give me a hard time about it all the time.
But here's the thing, folks. He's
Yeah,
consistent. He actually hits the golf ball and makes
right.
fluid contact with it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. You have a lot of broadcasters that are calling games from home, and there's been a lot more remote production. And actually, I got a chance to be in a seminar with Mike Tirico right when quarantine was starting. And Tirico is like, if one good thing comes out of this for sports broadcasting, it's going to be that, us broadcasters, don't necessarily have to be in studio to do a show.
Yeah.
Mike Tirico showed us his setup. He's got an iPad and a ring light. And that's all he has to go live on his NBC sports show every day. He just hits the little record button and it attaches him to the station and in the production room at Stanford. So that's how he does it. So I think that what we're going to see is a lot more, remote production. I think that's good for social media. I have a TikTok channel, and I just have a ring light and a phone and my AirPods, and the audio quality is great, the video quality is great, so I don't need to actually go into Citrus TV,
right?
Because I got something at home.
You got it right there,
right? So I think that's going to be one of the silver linings that comes out of this for sports broadcasting. But I will say, calling in terms of actual play-by-play, calling games off a monitor from home is not the same as being there. And it affects the way us announcers call a game. It just, the feel of being there affects your energy on air, your enthusiasm, the chemistry with your analyst. It's just different off a monitor. So I hope that's not something that we see more of in the future. Obviously, we have to do it this year. I understand that, but hopefully in 2021 we can go back to actually being at the games.
And you mentioned something that's kind of up and coming. You mentioned this sports betting TikTok, and you haven't mentioned in your Twitter bio. I kind of looked at you crazy when you first put it in your Twitter bio when you were leaving Golf Channel. I was like, okay, sports betting. This is not going anywhere, but we'll see where it goes. Totally shouldn't have doubted you. There's one of our colleagues that used to work at Golf Channel. I think he still works at Golf Channel, and I can't remember his name. He's slipping my head, and I know you know who I'm talking about.
Brad Thomas.
Brad Thomas, yeah, and
yes,
he's big into sports.
I talk to him every day. He's my colleague. I work with him. Yep.
And he's big into sports betting. Kind of tell us how you got into the sports betting world, putting it on TikTok and kind of seeing the evolution of it again. Kind of it being the next best thing in sports.
So before October of 2019, I was all in on being a play-by-play broadcaster. That's the only thing that I thought about doing. I was not thinking about anchoring, reporting, nothing else, writing. Nope. I was all in on play-by-play. And that's still my number one goal in my career. Don't get me wrong. But Citrus TV, the student television station at Syracuse, started a sports betting show. And this came right after sports betting was legalized in the state of New York. So they asked me to host the show, knowing I had some knowledge of sports betting. So I started hosting the show, and I just fell in love with it. And Langston, you know me, I'm an enthusiastic guy. I like to get hyped up and energized about things. And that's what you have to do as a sports betting analyst. You got to be passionate about your picks, confident in your picks. And so that whole field fit me really, really well. And I was winning. The picks were going good. I was beating the book. The name of the show is Beat the Bookie. So I was beating the bookie every week, and got the nickname Willie Betts. So and I just fell in love with it. And so the thing about Citrus TV is you basically rotate who hosts the show, not just Beat the Bookie, but every show on there. So I was getting like a show every 3 weeks. And I'm like, I want more experience than this. what can I do? And a lot of people were telling me, oh, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel. But a lot of people already had that, like a sports betting podcast or sports betting YouTube channel. So I wanted to start something unique that someone hadn't done yet. And around this time, March, February of this year, TikTok was starting to blow up. And
Right.
I said that I did research. I could not find one person that was putting out sports betting picks on TikTok. So I think it was March 5th or 6th was the date that I launched this TikTok channel. But I did it. And then a week later, there's no sports.
Yeah,
so
that's a weird one.
timing. Right. It was unfortunate timing, but I always told myself when sports come back, the TikTok channel's coming back. And I brought it back in August with a golf pick and some NBA picks, and just wasn't gaining much traction. I think in October of this year, so a month and a half ago, I only had like 100 followers on the channel, and just like it was not gaining any traction. I just kept putting out content and working hard at getting content out, and then poof, one of my videos gets 12,000 views. A week later, I got a video that gets 51,000 views. A week later, a video that gets 25,000 views. And in the last 24 hours, I've gained about 1,100 followers. I'm now at 4,800 TikTok followers.
That's insane.
So I'm now Viget, a sports betting app, reached out to me. I'm now partnered with Viget. So I have a partner now for the TikTok channel. So it's really blown up in the past couple weeks. I've gained north of 4,500 followers in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So it's been quite the turnaround from having just 100 followers after 8 months of having the channel. So we'll see what happens, man. I really enjoyed the sports betting analysis, and not a whole lot of people my age are doing that.
Right.
And it's something that's blowing up very quickly. I mean, it's legal in a lot of places now. ESPN just opened up a Vegas studio. FanDuel and DraftKings kind of have their own networks they have going on. So it's something I'm very much considering.
And when you talk about betting, and this is an interesting one, betting, and I think it's a very kind of interesting topic, and it kind of relates to a TV show that you love called The Bachelor, which like betting on love, betting on sports broadcasting and sports. I don't know where it came from. You knew it was coming, but tell us about your love of The Bachelor, and kind of where that comes from, and your role with the Citrus TV up in Syracuse and what you do for that show.
So I was in high school. I think it was a sophomore in high school, maybe a junior. And my best friend just had surgery. And so I go over and, drop him off food at his house, and he's watching The Bachelor. I'm like, dude, like what? Like turn the Rockets game on. Like, what is this? He's like, Will, you got to trust me. I watched one episode with him. I was hooked. It was just unbelievable entertainment. And so ever since then, I've watched starting with Ben Higgins season, I've watched every single season of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, you name it. And so Citrus TV has this entertainment show called Unpeeled, and it's not sports, it's not news, it's just for entertainment, kind of like something you'd see on E.
Yeah.
That kind of style show. And they didn't really have someone that was exclusively reporting on The Bachelor. I'm like, look, I don't have time to be, I don't have the time to be a full-time analyst or reporter on the show. But what if just during Bachelor season, I come on and do a recap every week? And they said, go for it. And so I became
Nice.
the official Bachelor reporter for Citrus TV, and got a red blazer and a rose tie to wear every week. And
Guys, if
had
you
an
haven't
absolute
seen the
blast with it.
picture, go see it. It's on his Instagram. We'll give you all his social media contact at the end of the show, but definitely go check it out. It's a pretty cool suit. I'm not gonna lie.
I very much enjoy the show, enjoy doing it for Citrus TV. And a lot of people are like, Will, you got to give up on sports broadcasting and become the next Chris Harrison. I'm like, whoa,
You're reaching there.
You're reaching there a little bit, but nonetheless, it's a blast.
So we're coming down to the end of the interview and looking kind of at your outlook for the next 5 years. Graduation is coming up pretty soon. We're graduating at the same time. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Ooh, next 5 years. That's a tough one, Langston. hopefully back in Texas. We'll see what happens. I'm either going to be probably a baseball play-by-play announcer or sports betting analyst in 5 years, and hopefully on TV is one of those two.
And I think
we'll see what happens.
You're off to a really good start. But where else do you think you're going to be up besides sports broadcasting and kind of sports betting and baseball?
So you're saying, like, if I don't do those two things, what would I be doing?
If that doesn't work out, obviously you're going to be in Texas. What happens?
I haven't thought that far ahead, Langston. I sure as heck hope sports broadcasting works out, because going 2,000 miles away for school for specifically that, I would hope that that would work out. But
right. Do you have anything locked up as of yet? Because we're going to be in January by the time you blink, and you're going to have 5 months to kind of figure something out.
Man, I don't know.
You're a free agent. Are you looking?
That.
Are you looking for jobs?
Absolutely, I'm.
Guys,
a free agent.
Will
Absolutely.
Scott is a free agent. He's looking for employment come May of 2021. Help him out.
Hey, even before that, I have 3 online classes in the spring, and that's it. They're all asynchronous. They're all online. So maybe even before that, we'll see. I'm definitely keeping my options open, Langston. But heck, not just baseball, football, basketball. I'd be interested in calling any one of those sports.
Nice. So kind of looking over everything, the last 4 to 5 years, your run at Syracuse is coming to an end. What advice do you have for a young person that's kind of in high school looking to get into your line of work of sport broadcasting?
I would say stay patient and trust the process. And it's funny you asked that question, because I was interviewed by a Syracuse underclassman today, and they asked me the same question. What would be your advice to your younger self? Freshman year, I'll be honest, it was not easy for me to go from being the only sports broadcaster in my high school, calling over 100 games in my 4 years in high school, to going to Syracuse and being a small fish in a big competitive pond. That was tough my freshman year, especially being so far from home. But I wish I would have told my younger self, be patient, trust the process. It all worked out in the end. I'm very happy to be at Syracuse. But I was a little bit impatient my freshman year, as were many freshmen. But that's what I would tell people that are in high school right now, that are freshmen in college. Trust the process. The opportunities will come, but you have to create your own opportunities. Like I started a sports betting TikTok channel, and that's led to me getting a sponsor for that channel. You gotta branch out. You gotta create some of your own opportunities. Never say no to any opportunities that you get, but also try to create your own.
I agree. So we're coming into one of the favorite parts of the interview, kind of wrapping things up. I like to call it a fast 5. I'll give you 5 fast questions here. We just want to know what your common answers are, what rolls off the top of your head when I give you these questions. All right. First thing, favorite golf course?
Winter Park 9. I think you knew where that was going.
Winter Park 9. It's a 9-hole golf course, but I don't blame you. It's a very good golf course. Okay. Favorite foursome, you not included.
Are you saying
a 5-some?
Are you saying who I'd want to play golf with?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go with Langston Frazier. I'm going to go with Keegan Bradley, my favorite golfer. Ben Crenshaw. So that puts us at 4 total. And one more, Tiger Woods. I'd love to play golf with Tiger Woods, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but he's one of my heroes. So Ben Crenshaw, he's actually, in terms of like all time, Keegan Bradley is my favorite golfer currently on tour. Ben Crenshaw is probably my favorite golfer of all time, and I actually got to meet him one time. I almost passed out. He's a fellow Texan, so that's a pretty solid group right there. If we could get on the links with those 3, Lang.
So in terms of Texas, Texas has some great food. If you had one more meal to have in Texas, what would it be?
Whataburger. No question about it. A Whataburger #1 with cheese, some ketchup, some fries, a large Dr. Pepper. People ask me all the time up north, like, what do you miss the most in Texas? And barbecue's a close second, but #1 is Whataburger. Absolutely.
That's a good one. I honestly wasn't expecting that one. So listen, I got two more for you. Cause that was three. I got two more for you. What's your favorite car? If you could have any car in the world, what would it be?
I'm a Jeep guy to the very end. I'm gonna own a Jeep for the rest of my life. Probably gonna want a Jeep Wrangler by the time it's said and done. Right now, I have a Jeep Patriot, which I'm sitting in right now. This is my car. I love this car. It's a 2011. It's breaking down on me every day. I hope it can hang on for a few more months. But I'm gonna be a Jeep guy. So probably a Jeep Wrangler is kind of my dream car, I guess you could say.
There you go. And probably, I guess I know you've thought of this one before. If you could call one game, any sport, any conditions, whether it's international, domestic base here in the U.S., you can pick two broadcasters to be alongside you. What game would it be, and who would you jump in a chair with? And what would the final call be?
I would want to be on the call for a big upset, probably in the NCAA tournament, March Madness. It's a dream of mine to call March Madness. Who I'd want alongside me. Gus Johnson is my favorite announcer. I'd love to be alongside Gus. He's probably the only person in the world that could match my enthusiasm on air, if not exceed it. And then analyst. That is a tough one. It's basketball. So Kirk Herbstreit's my favorite analyst with basketball. But you know what? We'll put Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Me, Kirk Herbstreit, and Gus Johnson.
And if you had to have your one reporter on the field or one recorder on the court, who would it be?
Allie LaForce does a tremendous job. She is with Turner Sports now. She does a fantastic job. So I'd probably say her. Plus, her husband is a pitcher for the Astros, so that's a plus with Allie LaForce. I'm a big Astros fan, as you know.
There you go. Well, folks, he's Will Scott of Citrus TV up at Syracuse University. Before we let you go, where can the good people connect with you on social media, your TikTok, your LinkedIn? If they want to give you a job, where can they find you?
So Twitter is at WillScott44. The sports betting TikTok is at WillieBets. IG, WD Scott, and then LinkedIn, you should be able to find me if you type in Will Scott. I am fortunate enough to be connected with this guy, Langston Frazier on LinkedIn. So
that's true.
Look us up. Yes, sir. Lance, thanks so much for having me on, man. Really appreciate you.
We'll have to do it again. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I'm so glad you could be on the first episode of season 2 of the Langston Frazier Show podcast. Will, I greatly appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. Talk soon.
Always. Now, I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed this season premiere episode of season 2 of the podcast with Will D. Scott of Texas and a proud Orange of Syracuse University. If you don't follow him on social media, I highly suggest you do. You can follow him on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Check him out. He makes some incredible content, and he's great to see in person and in action. So I highly suggest you check him out. All his links will be down in the description below. But before we go, check out my other podcast. It's called Talk Up the Shore. It's a Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks based and inspired athletic podcast with my good co-host Raylan Wardlaw. Both 2 versions, an audio version and a visual version on YouTube. Just search #TalkShore or Talk the Shore podcast to check out those amazing episodes, because new episodes are coming soon. And next week we have a motivational speaker, just an all-around amazing guy with a really inspiring story. We're talking to none other than the guy who drove a golf ball across the Niagara Falls. The 2018 World Long Drive champion, Maurice Allen, stops by the podcast next week. So if you don't already follow him on social media, check him out. It's going to be an incredible episode. We're talking about his career, the state of the golf industry, and so many other more topics on next week's episode. So get ready for that. And follow me on social media. I'm at Langston Frazier on Twitter and also on LinkedIn. Let me know who you want to hear from next on the podcast and what topics you want me to cover. We have so many great guests on the podcast this season, ranging from Avery Dosek, Abby Parsons, DeAndre Diggs, Jay DeLuca, and just so many others that you're gonna hear from this season. So make sure you leave me some feedback using the hashtag TLFSPod. And we're going to get those questions out to our guest on the show so you can really get to know them so much better. And don't forget to comment, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, leave me a 5-star rating. And don't forget to share the podcast, because that's super important too. You can find the Langston Frazier Show podcast on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, and Anchor, along with so many other more platforms. Just subscribe wherever you get your podcast today. Just look up the hashtag TLFSPod or the Langston Frazier Show. And until next time, I'm your host, Langston Frazier. Stay safe, stay healthy, and practice safe social distancing. Wear a mask, and we'll see you back here next week for an episode of the Langston Frazier Show.